Tuesday, war day. Woohoo! What are you going to go get today? So, today I thought we'd talk about something kind of interesting, no fear exercises, the 2 mind tricks to psych yourself out of fear. One is called the magic blanket, and the other one is called play the movie. I got these from my good friend David Mills, and they are really smart techniques for how to trick your brain or how to understand and work with your natural default brain to overcome any fears you have. Okay, so this is the first technique. It's called the magic blanket technique. Okay, now this technique works. There's going to be a lot of times in life when we are afraid of something that we know is irrational. We know it's irrational. We know it's unlikely to happen, but we have a fear of it. This is, the monsters under my bed kind of a fear that a child has. But in our daily lives, they might be more. Just sort of like the catastrophic type of fear. Well, what's going to happen if there's a huge earthquake and everything falls apart, right? And if you have a fear that is paralyzing you, okay, then even if the situation is something that yeah, maybe this could happen, it's not going to help you at all if it's paralyzing you from getting stuff done, right? So of course, one of the things to do is to think about what would I need to do and take care of those. But if it's just something that is an irrational fear, then you can use this technique. Okay, so if you know the fear is irrational, let's say I'm scared of the monsters under my bed, then you can create an irrational defense, which is pretty cool, right? So you can just give your brain a defense mechanism. So that would be saying, okay, well, then I've got this. My blanket is a super duper force field that can repel all monsters under the bed, right? This is something you can share with your children if they're going through that, right? So you have an irrational fear, create an irrational protection mechanism, and just tell your brain that this blanket is a super force field that's going to protect you. Okay. And in that way, you can play with it, you can work with it, but you're still working with the way your brain works. If your brain believes something irrational, you can give it an irrational protection or defense against that thing it's afraid of. That's the first technique. Second technique is, and that's a good one to teach your children, or if other people are experiencing some kind of irrational fear about something. Now, second technique is play the movie. Okay, let's play the movie. Now, this one is more useful because there's going to be a lot of times when you want to use this technique. And this technique is what happens when we have a fear of something. Now, this might be something reasonable. Okay, this might be something reasonable like losing our job, or a loved one dying, or something like that. This could be this one is for fears that could happen, right? That there's a decent chance of them happening even. And this will help you get over them and be able to still take action. Okay, so this fear is called play the movie all the way through. What happens when we have a fear of something and it causes us to freeze and not take action, what's really happening is that our brain gets stuck at one point in the movie. It gets stuck at a place where it's sort of the worst possible thing. You know that place in the movie when the hero is in a spot and it just doesn't look like there's any way out. Everything is collapsed. Everything is horrible. They have no way to achieve their goal. And they're like trapped somewhere, and there's people with guns all around them, right? And there's no way out. So what happens is that's the part of the movie, right, that our brain will get stuck on. It'll, right? It's like this tape stops, and in our mind, it's as if that space goes on forever. Okay. So what you have to do is actually walk your brain past that point in the movie. Take your brain by the hand and you say, hey, we're going to keep going. So you say, well, all right, what if this thing happens? What if I lose my job, right? So the person is like, the fear, okay? Let's just say this is a simple fear. I lose my job. I can't pay my mortgage. I'm out on the street. I have nowhere to go. I'm homeless, right? Like, that's where the brain goes, okay? And then it puts you in this catastrophic place. So, and then it's like, I'm homeless forever. I never have anything, right? That's where your brain stops the movie at that point. So it creates this huge sense of fear and inability to take action. Now, what you have to do at that point is work with the brain. You walk your brain past that point. And even if that point is something that is unlikely to happen, just the exercise of walking your brain past that point by saying, okay, then what would I do next? What would I do next? Right? So if I did end up losing my job, what would I do next? Okay, I would go look for another job. I would, and actually say, okay, these are the things I would do. I would go apply to this kind of agency or whatever, right? Write down those things. If you take it all the way to I'm homeless, okay, what would I do next? If I was homeless, who are the list of people that I could call if that happened that might put me up for a few days or might give me a hand if that was the case, right? Like, so actually, or walk your brain through those steps of what would you do next? Who would I call? If this horrible thing happened that I'm afraid of, right? If this person in my life dies, what would I do next? Actually start taking your brain, walking them through those steps. Why? Because when your brain gets stuck at the worst possible part of the movie and it thinks that that's what life is going to be like forever, then it causes you to freeze. But once your brain knows and can see a path, it can see the movie continues. It can see that there are steps that you can and will take afterwards to get out of that situation or to help yourself. Then your brain can release that stuckness. Okay. Then you're like, okay, yeah, it could be really bad, but I know that I can keep going. I know there's next steps. I know this is what I would do in that case. Right. And so that is the technique. And that technique I actually use a lot. That is a great technique because you have to understand that your brain is not always rational. It's not what it was designed to be. And so you have to kind of direct it. You have to push it forward. You have to say, okay, yeah, that's your fear. I get it. Now what comes next? So always ask yourself that question. What would come next? What comes next after that? And that way your mind won't get stuck in a place of fear and a thing that will actually cause you to freeze up and not be able to take action and not be able to move forward in your life. Okay, so those are two really simple exercises. You can do them in like almost a few seconds, right? Where these are two ways to combat fear, right? The magic blanket technique and the play the movie through, keep playing the movie technique, okay? Those are two fun things that you could try. It's good to teach your kids these because oftentimes if you have kids that are afraid, you can teach them this as a method for how to deal with it, for how to progress past it. All right, and how to keep going. So that's the no fear, the no fear techniques. I hope you guys have a great Tuesday, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Bye.